Hey friends, it is time once again for Once More with Feelings. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Beth. Our movie podcast is about digging into the emotions that movies stir up. And how they affect us, how they twist us. And I'm saying all that because it is going to be Twister today that we see.
The original OG 1996 Twister.
That's right. 1996 American disaster film directed by Jan de Bont and written by Michael Crichton and Anne-Marie Martin. The film follows a group of storm chasers led by Dr. Joe Harding, who are attempting to deploy a revolutionary tornado research device called Dorothy. During a severe outbreak of tornadoes in Oklahoma, Joe's estranged husband, Bill Harding, a former storm chaser turned weatherman, joins the team for one last mission, as they race against a rival team led by Dr. Jonas.
I
know. I was trying to keep with Jan de Bont. Dr. Jonas Miller. They face numerous life-threatening encounters with powerful tornadoes.
Sorry.
I know, we didn't get anywhere with that one.
No, but we have a lot of people in this cast. A ton of people.
There's so many people. I forgot how many there are.
So if you were here with us when we reviewed... Well, we don't review, I know that. But when we did Frighteners...
We're somewhat reviewing.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about
we
it.
Do. But when you were here with us with Frighteners, one of the actors in that movie was Jake Busey. Jake Busey has a little bitty part in this movie, too. He's the lab tech.
Right.
Yeah. But this movie stars Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, and Jamie Gertz, Carrie Elwes, who I adore, but I hated his accent. What the hell was that?
There were a lot of accent issues.
There was a lot of accent.
I'm not even sure what they were trying to portray.
I'm not even sure. But we had Alan Ruck and we had Phillip, Seymour, Hoffman. I mean, so many people. As Dusty. And Alan Ruck was Rabbit. So, Cameron.
He's always going to be Cameron. No matter what he does in life, he'll always be Cameron. I'm sure that haunts him.
Probably. Yeah. This was done, like I said, like we said, in 1996. Unfortunately, Mr. Paxton passed away in 2017 from a stroke, which I had forgotten about until I was doing my research.
And Phillip Seymour Hoffman died.
He did?
A long time ago, baby.
How did I miss that? I thought he was still alive.
Yeah, he died in 2014.
I don't know how I missed that, but,
I mean, how are you supposed to keep up?
I don't know. But
writing a book?
Yes. But no, I know. I tend to pay attention. So
yeah, but you're not going to know everybody that dies. This movie meant a lot to me. Mm-hmm. Not because I saw it at a formative time in my life.
Okay.
Really wasn't. It was just a time I saw it. But the thing that I really liked about it was a lot like my childhood, watching things just get swept up in tornadoes. I lived in Tornado Alley. Mm-hmm. I actually lived in the boot heel of the Misuras.
Oh.
And that is not how they say it.
No.
I don't think.
I wouldn't know.
But in that area, including, Oklahoma, which this is featuring, mm-hmm. Or at least mostly featuring, that is Tornado Alley.
Yeah.
That's a long stretch of Tornado Alley. And that is where we just get a lot of twisters, a lot of tornadoes. I don't think I ever called it a twister when I was a kid. Not until the movie came out. Then we started calling them twisters. It's funny how, the social
we're
milieu.
We're very, very not inspired.
We're moved by language.
Yeah,
and
I can't think of words today.
Movies can change that language.
Influence, that's the word.
And we can see that. And you remember you even said before that some words were invented on set.
Oh, yeah.
They change how we think because it becomes part of the social culture.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes sense that, when you hear something like Twister to a bunch of... I wasn't a kid then. Not 96. But I was I was, 20... I was 26. Duh. 96. Because I'm on an even year.
Yeah, so am I.
So, yeah, I just dated myself. Right there, I just dated it.
I date myself every episode, hon.
So, anyway, yes, in 96, I was 26. And it wasn't a formative time, but it was when I had a bunch of friends, because you're new to the world still and think you're old. And we were always like, we had these large groups of people that we kind of became our extended family. And so, yeah, you start using things from film, like Twister is now a twister instead of a tornado. And so, like in Big Trouble in Little China, so many things came out of that for pop culture and in our group, our social culture, that we reused over and over, like the toast that he gives and the sayings that he uses. We used it ironically because it was funny because he took himself so seriously.
Well, that's like earlier when we were talking about weird science. I will always, to my dying breath, go, "Give me the keys, Lisa. Give me the keys."
Exactly. And I always go to that section as well, but I go to the other one. He doesn't even have a license, Lisa.
Because anytime somebody says, "Oh, do you have the keys? Give me the keys. Give me the keys." That's all I think of.
It becomes ingrained in your culture, in your social cues to bring those up every time and it's just like everybody does that.
I mean, you're going to think, like, honestly, and I think movies are definitely very formative of when we were growing up, because kids nowadays, and I'm really going to date myself now, they're not going to get right now, what they're doing is they're running around going chicken jockey because of the Minecraft movie. Whereas I am going, do you know the street value of this mountain? So,
or we have cows.
Yes, we have cows.
So useful in today's society. We have cows.
We have cows. So, I'm going to be completely transparent, like I'm ever not transparent, because basically I'm an open book. Ask me a question, I'll throw up word vomit on you. But I actually had no interest in ever seeing this movie. When I first saw it, I didn't want to see it. I didn't care about it. Didn't even have any interest in the least, but it was playing. I think my ex was playing it in the background. He was watching it. I had no care, because I feel I have an extremely healthy fear of tornadoes. And I will, once again, go to my deathbed. I will take a hurricane over a tornado any day of the week. So
you want a wet tornado rather than a dry tornado?
You have warning with a hurricane. You have time to get your ass out of Dodge. Now, granted, we did have a weird situation here in the mountains because we don't usually get hurricanes up here where we live.
Yeah, somebody brought one in. I think it was, you really have to start doing border checks.
I mean, Jesus. But I'm not sure what he had to do with it, but I'm pretty sure he was involved. But at the same time, that was a freak situation. But growing up on the shore, we always had plenty of warning, and if you didn't evacuate, well, that's on your sorry ass. And that
have time to nail the shutters closed.
Exactly.
Put plywood up.
Yeah, put tape. I don't know what it ever did, but I remember my mom putting a big old taped X on the sliding glass doors in our living room.
It's to keep the glass from shattering. At the time, they didn't have a lot of safety glass, and that was very dangerous glass. And if you put an X over it, it kind of holds it together.
Okay.
So that you have less shards.
I just assumed it was because we were poor and she couldn't afford plywood to cover it, which is most likely.
That would actually kind of be the case. Is that instead of plywood, the least you can do is put an X with tape. It's actually a smart thing.
I don't remember. I mean, I remember us being evacuated once in all of them. And I grew up on the shore. I remember we came home from a hurricane, and I can't remember. I don't think it was Gloria, but it was maybe it was Matthew. Honestly, I don't remember. It's been years. There's so many of them, they just kind of overlap after a while. But I remember we came home, and I don't know, it was weird. The sliding glass doors, the water had come up, and you could actually see fish in our backyard because it was up like about a foot on, and you could see about a foot underwater from our sliding glass. Now, it was probably leaking. I don't remember. I always say that it wasn't leaking. It probably was. I just don't remember. We had this god-awful red rug. So
it may have seemed like it wasn't.
Because you couldn't tell
just
with that
because
piece of shit
you're
rug.
remembering it, and that would be the smallest detail. That would. Fish swimming outside your door.
Outside my back doors, my sliding glass doors, I'll take one of those bad boys any day of the week. I used to grow up hearing tornado
twister
stories, and I don't have any interest in it. God bless storm chasers, the crazy motherfuckers that they are, because I could not do that.
So I had an opposite childhood in which, because we lived in Tornado Alley, it was fairly commonplace. Most people did hide. They got into an area that was safe or whatever.
Yeah.
But my father was very macho, and he would take us outside, and we would sit in lawn chairs and watch the tornado go by.
I mean, my grandfather used to do the same thing with me with thunderstorms because I was afraid of them. So he would sit on the front porch and he would make me come out there and sit with him because anything my pop-pop did, it was okay. And I would follow him to the ends of the earth when I was little. And I think that's why I like him so much, is it does bring me that nostalgia. But
Yeah, see, and when we did it, looking back on it, I see how stupid it was.
That's chaos and crazy right there.
But we weren't taught to not fear a tornado. We were taught to disrespect a tornado. Which is different because we just didn't have the fear because we didn't respect it, because our father just really never brought that in as an issue. We never had anything get destroyed.
Okay.
There was plenty of destruction around us.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like we were always kind of in a bubble. No matter where a tornado happened, it didn't hit us directly. It may have torn down my school, or it may have done this or that. But it didn't hit us. And this is growing up as a child, with a father who is overly macho about everything. He doesn't leave room for fear.
Yeah.
So we didn't know to be afraid of it until much later in life.
And that is interesting. It's funny that the damage that we got from Helene, that's the first time that other than maybe like some leaking because of the possible leaking of the sliding glass doors, I don't remember us ever having any type of major house or yard damage from any of the hurricanes that we were in. And again, I remember that Floyd destroyed so much of New Jersey, and yet we were driving around. My sister and I went out and got subs for dinner, and we were just driving around in the middle of this hurricane because it wasn't so bad for us. We have no fear of hurricanes. Now, this last one freaked me the fuck out because we were so far away, and I'm seeing things that I grew up seeing on the shore in my mountain backyard, and that freaked me the flying fuck out. But if I had been back in Jersey, I would have been like nonplussed about most of what we'd seen.
Right.
We didn't have as many big ass trees either. I mean, we have trees in New Jersey, but these bitches are high. They can take out a whole freaking house with one swipe, and they have, and many of them did.
So to start off with, we have the opener of the movie, and it's important to understand why this movie is even happening. It's because Joe, who as a kid back in the 70s, because that was, it was in 96. She was a young child, so maybe early
80s?
Early 80s, probably 70s, because she's a college graduate, right?
I mean,
she's an adult. Of them is. One of them's a doctor.
Well, she's a doctor. Yeah, she's a doctor.
Yeah. So she had to have enough time to go through all those courses and everything else. So we have to say probably in the late 70s.
Honestly, they missed an opportunity with this movie. Carrie Ellis, Jamie Gertz, and Helen Hunt all played doctors. They totally could have had the doctor.
True. That's true.
Totally had that conversation.
Could have done a Spies Like Us doctor scenario.
Wasted.
Well, can't hit everything.
I know.
So Jo is obsessed with tornadoes.
Yes.
And she is the protagonist of this film in a way, but I think it's also Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
They kind of share that.
She's obsessed because of her dad getting sucked away.
At the start of the film, we see the giant tornado tearing apart their home and sweeping her dad away from the door of the root cellar.
Yeah.
Yes.
And him, I think it's... At first, I want to say that it's because, he created this... He was a part of that world of the storm chasers and the adrenaline, and it looks like he chilled out, got away from it. Obviously, they had a bit of a messy relationship together. And the only reason why he's back is he wants her to sign the divorce papers so he can go and marry Jamie Gertz. Doctor.
Right.
Number 2.
Who's playing Dr. Melissa.
Yes.
And the problem I have with this is that it is really showing itself as an action film when it's really like it's not an action film.
It's a natural disaster film.
It's a natural disaster film, but it's a love story. And it's an annoying one.
It really is.
It's always kind of been an annoying one to me. The reason why is because Jamie Gertz's character, Melissa, is a perfectly nice lady if you can get past the bad accent.
Oh, God, the accent is horrible.
She's a perfectly nice lady. She is... Her and Bill Paxton...
they suit each other.
Bill Harding.
Bill Harding.
Should use the
Bill
character's
played
name.
Bill.
Yes. So... Exactly.
Bill,
so Melissa and Bill, they got along well.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for the switch about that we see in the film, except that Jo needed someone to also love her, I guess. And they had moved on, but there's a reason why you leave your exes. Going back to your ex is often kind of a ridiculous scenario. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. We all do it. We're all kind of stupid that way. We all want to try again because we feel it's a failure. Because a failure is not something you can digest.
Yeah.
You can digest someone else's failure. You can't digest your own. So, of course, you're going to go back to your ex and try again. And this is that film. It's going back to your ex. But you're not just going back to your ex. You're dragging your current to get back with your ex, which is kind of messed up. Melissa did nothing. She is not the bad guy in this film.
No.
There is no bad guy in this film.
Except for maybe Carrie Elwes. And even then, he's kind of incidental. He's not just arrogant.
The bad guy. He's just an arrogant ass who happens to be there. And he gets his in the end anyway, no matter what you do.
I think, honestly, overkill.
A lot of overkill. Did they need to do that? Especially to the driver who was really nice.
The driver didn't deserve to get
But
skewered.
Maybe that's what that's about. Maybe the movie is trying to get across that you don't know who it's going to hit. And it could hit the nice guy, or it could let the...
she literally says
I don't think it's that deep, but I'm just saying.
No, but she does literally say very similar things when she's getting upset with Bill at one point, and she's like, you didn't experience it, you didn't see it, how it hits all of the, it leaves all the houses around you, and then it comes and hits directly, it comes at you. And it's when he was like, you're taking it personal, I keep wanting to say hurricane,
alive.
like it's alive. But I can anthropomorphize, or think that's the word I'm looking for.
Anthropomorphize. Oh my God, I can't say it now.
Anthropomorphize.
No. Anthropomorphize. I am not.
Either way, I can put human perspectives on inanimate objects.
Oh God!
And not inanimate, but non-sentient. That's it. Not inanimate, but in non-sentient objects and things. Hell, I give my animals personalities that they probably don't even really have, because they're just probably have like static in their brain.
But we all do that. I do that.
Yeah.
But I have less of a nature of doing that, of anthropomorphizing. I said it. Everything.
Anthropomorphizing.
I can't believe I said it right. It's when you don't think about it. That's when it happens. That's the magic. Not thinking. Hear that, people? Don't think, and you'll be just fine.
Woo!
Don't live by those words.
I tend to do that with everything.
Not think?
No, anthropomorphize.
Anthropomorphize. Yes.
I love to do that. And I remember pissing off the IT guys in one of my first jobs where I had a computer because the computer kept freezing and I'd stuck a sticky note on top of it that had a smiley face, but it was giving me, like, it was sticking its tongue out at me. And I remember one of the IT guys going, what is this? And I'm like, that's the computer. It's giving me, it's giving me shit
you attitude
every damn day. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And that's when I realized the IT guys are not all nerds, like they promised me.
They're nerds, but they're really pressed upon. Or used to be. No, not so much.
Yeah.
So we have Bill and Joe, who used to be a couple. They used to be storm chasers together. They have a group, a family dynamic with their crew. Which would be like Phillip Seymour Hoffman and Cameron.
Oh, Alan Ruck.
Yeah, Alan Ruck. We have a large group of people, and they all have their own personalities.
Yeah.
In fact, they're all in different cars.
Playing their own music,
Yeah, playing their own music, displaying their own personalities, but they come together every time to set up base camp, and to get the equipment ready and everything else. So Bill is just going back to get those papers signed because he needs the divorce over because he and, I want to say Jamie, but Melissa, they want to get married and they need to get this done. And she has not done anything to anyone. And they don't treat her like that.
No, they welcome her.
They treat her very nicely, especially Dusty.
Yeah. Phillip Seymour Hoffman. He is like, he becomes BFF with her like immediately. Come with me. He takes her hand.
She's not thrilled about it.
No, but he is right there, and he's telling her all about the suck zone and stuff.
Yeah, they do not treat her like an outsider. You got to give them that.
And even like when in the beginning, when that one hurricane traps Bill and Joe under that little bridge, and then her truck falls right in front of Melissa as Melissa's driving Bill's truck, and she like skirts it. And how she's all freaked and I would have been completely lost. And she walks by.
They all run up.
Yeah, and while and Melissa and Bill are hugging, and you can see that Joe is like about it. She looks over and she's like, "Are you okay?" Like she still checks to see.
She's not happy with her, but she's not mad at her. She's mad at the situation they're all in, and that's fine. I like that. That is a very. Other than the issues that Joe obviously has, and the issue that Bill has an issue too. He has anger problems. He has an inability to communicate when he has that anger.
Yeah.
And Joe obviously has a tornado thing where she must find out, and she kind of has a death wish. One of the things in this film is that Bill is a psycho. In the group, he's the crazy guy.
Yeah.
That, to me, doesn't work. I think Joe should have been the one who is half naked and throwing a bottle of whiskey into the tornado. She seems like her character flaws lead to that being the case, that she's more prone to taking those risks, to taking those chances, but they actually put it on to Bill so that he's the risk taker.
Well, I think that maybe he was when he was traveling with them before, but since he walked away and now he has this respectable weatherman job, he is not the person, the whole... I know,
but what I'm saying, with the way they positioned the film...
Oh, yeah.
Is that
he was going to be the wild man.
That he's the wild man from back in the day, and she was not. Mm-hmm. But her character's issues and her focus would lead her to be the one who is more reckless. And you see it later on, but she should have always been that way.
Oh, yeah.
And if he was a risk taker too, they probably would have been dead by now.
Well, and I think that also she uses the idea of protecting the masses as her excuse to be
reckless.
Very reckless. Where I don't matter because I need to do this to help other people.
They mention it many times in the film about early warning. It's very heavy-handed, but I'm not upset at that.
No.
About in a more scientific way, being warned earlier, having an idea of what you're looking at so that you can predict the patterns, stuff like that. Although in the movie itself, you see that they use none of that data. That they only use Bill's intuition.
I noticed that too. It's always Bill. All of a sudden, he's got the dog ears up and he's listening, head cocked, and looking into the horizon. And then all of a sudden, he's like, "We need to go this way."
Well, and that's the thing is that instead of relying on scientific data, they are relying on Bill, but they talk about it constantly that they want to learn about the tornadoes and get data from it. And that's what Dorothy is about, which is filled with these little globes that are going to get sucked up into the tornado and it will define. And when I was a kid, I thought it was a great idea. I'm like, why aren't they doing that? Mm-hmm. They probably were. And I think they were. Actually, I think I did look it up and they were using those already.
Yeah.
But so they're using Dorothy, which is basically just a container. I'm sure it has other things on it, but like a weather vane, various things that I guess you would need for a tornado, and like a barometer or whatever. But the unit itself is just a container for all these globes.
Complicated. Whenever they're in a moment in a scene where they have to open it up and get it ready for the tornado, they're like...
Yeah, there's 4,000 freaking switches. Why are there so many switches?
And then when...
Who needs those switches?
At the end, there's
just
not.
One switch or a button. How about a button?
A button.
Maybe a remote button so you don't have to be right there like an idiot. They had remotes back then. It was 96, not the caveman era. No one's like chipping away a remote like Fred Flintstone.
True. They had cell phones. I mean, because Dr. Melissa, she's on the phone with her. One. And that's another sign that it shows you what a good person she is, because she is she's not home. She is technically, would not be like, I'm on vacation or I'm, away out of state, whatever. And yet she's still taking not personal calls, but she's taking calls from her patients. And
she's a therapist.
Yes.
That should be said. She's not a medical doctor, she's a therapist.
If I was a therapist, there ain't no way in hell I'd be taking phone calls from patients while I was on my whatever that was. Yeah.
The reason why she's taking calls is because she is a therapist and not a medical doctor.
Oh yeah, medical doctor. Yeah, she's a therapist. And what is a reproductive therapist or something like that?
That is getting far too into the area that I don't know.
Well, I think he mentions it. I think Bill says it.
Probably, but I do not know.
I just remember at one point, she's talking to the one guy.
And I am not going to look it up.
And she's like talking to the guy and she's like, no, your wife didn't marry you for your penis. And then she's like, okay, well, maybe partially for your penis.
Not only for your penis.
Not only for your penis. And then later on finding out that she's a reproductive therapist, that makes sense.
More sense, yes. We have... the group, the family dynamic, and they all love each other in this very like cool way that I think it's unsaid, but they're just, they are kind of unbreakable. Mm-hmm. They're always going to go to bat for each other. And I really like that because when I saw it, I had friends like that.
Oh yeah. I didn't, but I appreciated it.
And it was kind of cool to see that. Well, I only had it because my friend was one of those people that pulls people to them. Mm-hmm. I was just one of the people that got pulled. So, in orbit. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that, I think that it's important that we use scientific data, but if you're going to default to Bill's intuition every time, probably not the best idea, nor is it a way you can measure and track.
No.
There's no way you can say, well, we got this data from here because Bill just intuited where he wanted to go.
And that's the thing is like, so yeah, he would intuit and then they would like confirm it after the fact on their technology.
It's like, did you need to? I mean, because you can't say, well, first he did this. Then
it's going to switch the track. And no, it's not. No. Oh, no, it's going to switch the track. Bill's right. And it's like, well, duh. Bill's intuition told us so.
The thing is, how do you present that data? You say, well, he intuited it, and then we followed him with it. Because it's like not showing your work for the answer to an algebraic equation. You have to show your work. And they're kind of only just showing the end result. That is overly technical, I know. And it may not be right because I'm not a weather person.
No, but I get what you're saying because it goes along with, my downfall as a special education teacher is I keep a lot of information in my head because I have a hard time because of my ADD and my other neuroatypical behaviors. I have a hard time keeping track of things on paper. It's boring. I don't want to take notes. I don't want to write down data. And when it comes to doing IEPs, it all lives in my head. And I know that that's not a legitimate proof of the student's growth or non-growth, but that's when I have to sit down and force myself to write all the data out. But it's easier for me to just keep it in my head.
Yeah.
So I get that.
That's not really what they're doing, though.
No. He's doing the intuition. I'm doing where I'm just lazy. But yeah, it's having that data, that proof. You can't prove it if it's living in your head. You can't prove it if it's just you cocking your head to the side and listening. You can't prove that that's really a legitimate fact. Like, you know, yeah. I knew I was using, yeah, okay, never mind. I get it. I was just trying to say I understood what you were saying.
So you see Melissa start to freak out over the course of the film. Mm-hmm. And it starts with the twin twisters, or as I like to call them, the Twister sisters.
They called them sisters. I was calling them twins, but then there were three, so yeah, it got weird.
I call them the Twister sisters, so that you get all three.
I forgot there was three. That's why I yelled twins.
But you have twins, and then you have three. You have one, then you have two, then you have three.
And then you have cow.
But yeah, so Melissa sees the cow, which freaks her out. Mm-hmm. They kind of look at it and go, yeah, there's a cow. They're a little bit surprised, but she's starting to wig. But she holds it together through most of this film. She only, she very adult, in a very adult and mature way, she calls it. Mm-hmm. It's like, nope, I'm
Going
good.
Home. I'm out.
Good. I'm done. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Mm-hmm. She doesn't say that, but that's the way she acts. She acts like the mature adult in the relationship.
Yeah.
And of course, they all kind of seem like, well, maybe this wasn't for us scenario. It was a very easy breakup.
Really was. Very clean cut, even though you would think I would be pissed. I mean, if I were her again, I would be disappointed. I don't know if I could leave so easily because I get very invested in people. And if I care enough to commit to marrying somebody, I sure shit ain't gonna fucking walk away.
Without saying anything?
Mm-hmm. Words are gonna be said. They ain't gonna be pretty and they might be $5 words, but they're gonna be said.
You want some retribution. Mm-hmm. Because there is that part of you that is not just when you're hurt, you want to lash out and you want to feel vindicated in that. So I understand that. She did not do that, though.
No.
And in fact, the only ones really arguing, and I guess that's showing that they have, quote unquote, passion, is Joe and Bill.
But that could also show that they have toxicity.
It can. And in a way, you could say that's probably true. But what we saw, or like we talked about earlier, is that one of them is always calming the other one down.
Yes.
Talking the other one back from the edge of some crazy idea or thing they're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's like they're each other's safety net. Now, that can be seen as toxic in a way because they have that codependency where they want to always kind of have some kind of control in each other's lives. And talking each other back seems to be the thing that they do. Yeah. But the other one's always trying to take that step too far. It's like they keep daring each other in a way. Like they're not daring each other, but there's always one person trying to step off the ledge. Yeah. And you always got the other person that has to be ready to catch them. Well, what if they're not ready? What if that one time, and I think that's how Bill and Joe broke up. Yeah. I think that's how it ended. Is one of them didn't catch, but they didn't go into that in the film. No. We are getting way too deep into the psychology of the relationship, and by we, I mean me.
So then I will bring us back to a little bit of trivia. So the bass-heavy sounds and the loudness of the tornadoes in this movie would actually blow out speakers in movie theaters. So one of my clues to this movie was that they used a camel sound slowed down and
Yeah.
And it's because it's kind of rumbly. You can almost hear it because now that I was looking for it this time, I didn't know about it before. And we talked about this earlier as well, is I honestly don't know what I keep saying hurricane, a tornado sounds like because I've never been close enough to one to hear it. And when you hear them on videos, it's just, I can imagine it's just not the same. And so I didn't know if it was a legit hurricane, stop saying that, tornado sound that they were utilizing. But then again, they were using a camel that was slowed down. But yeah, they were blowing out speakers apparently in multiple theaters because of how the sound was so loud and deep.
So one of my notes I took at the very start when I was hearing the noises, and it just coincides with what you were saying, is it sounds at the start are intended to sound like animal snarls? ?
Yeah, you can hear that.
Because it's like it's evoking that anthropomorphization.
Yeah.
Where, she's still thinking that it's
a living
creature. And
monster.
To her, as a child, maybe that's what she was hearing, or what she formed in her mind as the memory, is that like this active predator.
Yeah, and that would make sense because I think I would do that too. I would have that in my head as the reality of it.
I mean, again, that's going very deep into the psychology of this. It could have been just that they wanted something to really affect the watcher.
Well, they said that in my research that the flashbacks to her, or that beginning part, was never intended to be in the movie, but she was supposed to have flashbacks of her childhood and what brought her to this point.
The 80s flashbacks.
And it made sense. It made more sense to just do that whole intro than it was to have the flashbacks.
I think that was better because then you don't have to keep going into these small vignettes every single time.
She has a moment, yeah.
And it breaks the movie up. The action should be free flowing.
Yeah, and it is pretty smooth.
And it was.
Yeah.
You went from calm to chaotic in moments, which was nice.
Which is just like what a tornado would do. You would go from calm to chaotic.
And I'm telling you, this is a film from 1996. It has not got the best CGI, but it is also not the worst CGI.
I didn't think it was so bad. Like
it wasn't. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you just didn't get pulled out of it. And
no.
Even the cow. So the cow was apparently the CGI was taken from Jumanji. It was a zebra, and they changed it to look like a cow. But I guess the animation of it was taken
still the
from
same. That's funny.
I mean, yeah, I don't understand that.
Makes sense because CGI was very expensive back then. Super expensive.
True. And
they didn't have that kind of budget for CGI in these films. So it made it easier to repurpose. Makes sense.
And I think, and again, this is something we talked about earlier.
They did the same thing in Community.
Because there's a lot of physical effects, like the sonic ice that they're throwing at them for the hail, because sonic ice is little rabbit turds, and it is the best ice ever. And
it looks like sonic ice. We don't know that.
We don't know that it's sonic ice, but we were assuming it was. But because you see the ice and from the hail, and when it is raining, it's coming sideways, and there's so many things happening that you don't notice that the CGI is not.
No, I
modern.
think they had practical effects that overlaid the CGI enough to where all you really get now is an idea that things are fuzzy.
Yeah.
As opposed to the sharp contrast of everything else around it.
Yeah. But I can imagine, though, that it would look a little fuzzy. I mean, again, I've never seen a tornado in person.
Not really.
So
there was a lot more dirt in the air than there usually is.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's very tightly controlled. Even the big ones are fairly tight where you can... I mean, yeah, sometimes when they're slower, I guess they have a lot more dirt kind of flying around.
I was going to ask you how realistic were they in the sense of like, I've seen many tornado videos, and the debris flying and things coming down. That is an F5 tornado that we see at the end,
yes.
And it literally throws an oil tanker truck at them. And in the literal sense. So, I mean...
Would an F5 do that? I'm not an expert, but I'm going to say probably not. They're very heavy, and the density of something matters.
Maybe it was empty.
No, because it blew up.
It did blow up. Residual. No, I don't know.
It completely blew up.
Yeah, but that could have just been the gas tank.
I think that was a bit of an explosion for the little gas tank.
Well, I don't know, because when Carrie Elwes's SUV
got lawn darted.
It got lawn darted. It kind of blew up pretty damn big. But yeah, it's still. I wasn't sure. Like, and I'm assuming that when the way it at the end of the movie, when the eye passes over them and the tornado starts to break up and things falling out of the sky, would that be a legit thing as well?
So something about that also kind of was that's kind of weird. I've been in the eye of tornado before. Mm-hmm. Not like standing out there, but in
where it passed over. Yeah.
The stillness, the calmness that's there.
That's a hurricane thing.
No, it's a tornado thing as well. If it's a really big one, it doesn't last. It hits you, then it hits you again. So
yeah, because you're on the other side, yeah.
You get hit by two walls. The eye is not where you want to be in a tornado.
Ooh, God,
you don't want to be anywhere near it. I don't want to be near the tornado at all.
No.
You want to be as far away as possible, looking at it from a distance, going, "Woo, I'm glad I'm not over there." But if you're in the eye of a tornado, you're probably already in really deep shit.
Yeah.
Knowing that the other side of that tornado, and by the way, everything that's inside the eye of the tornado getting tossed around is going to slice you to ribbons anyway. Mm-hmm. It's the debris that kills you most times in a tornado, not getting lifted away and thrown somewhere.
And that was another thing we talked about, is how at the end when they strapped themselves to the well pipes, which, yeah, logically, they go 35 feet into the ground. They're not going to be ripped out of the ground anytime soon. That's pretty impressive, blah, 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 blah. But they're not going to just fly like a windsock in the breeze. No, they're going to flap around like one of those wacky waving arm guys in the front of a car dealership, but on crack. And they're going to get sliced by all the debris.
Well, and one of the things is when you tie yourself to a pipe in a heavy
you're going to be like a balloon.
In an undulating wind.
Yeah.
What you've done is you've tied yourself to the thing that's going to beat you to death.
Exactly. So there's a lot of physics problems.
We are being
very critical
of this film.
So,
but you have to understand, I still like the film.
Oh, no.
I love the film.
So that's one thing we tend to do is when we'll either destroy something because we're really disappointed in it, or we destroy it because we love it. And honestly, I really did enjoy this again. It was a shock to me the first time I saw that. I did enjoy it because it had two things in it I don't like. I don't like natural disaster movies because they make me think about these things actually happening, and I don't like to think about these things actually happening. And two, tornadoes, and they're one of my biggest fears. I don't like basements, I don't like the dark, and I don't like tornadoes.
And you don't like attics.
Well, attics kind of go with the whole basement thing.
It doesn't. You really have to say you're afraid of one and the other.
Well, I don't know if I'm afraid of attics, but I'm really not keen on ours. Yeah, but I've never been up in ours, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
usually
going up
attics.
There.
Yeah, I'm not going up there either.
I've been up there. It's not that fun.
No, I don't really want to go up there.
We don't have like the movie attic where you get to walk up there, walk
you gotta
around.
Crawl, right?
There's always a chair in there somewhere that's just chilling.
Yeah,
and then you got a bunch of boxes. It's
and
not
maybe a
like
mirror that has.
There's always a dress dummy. Mm-hmm. Always. And a mirror.
Yeah, a
right
mirror
beside it.
Covered with a sheet. Yeah.
Very
and you don't want to take and old paintings. No, ours doesn't have
a rocker.
Yeah, no, ours doesn't have anything like that. And I've never been up there, but I know it doesn't have anything like that.
It doesn't have a floor. It's just the rafters.
Ew.
There's no floor. There's no reason for it.
What's the point of it?
Well, there isn't. That's for the airflow.
Oh, so what do we... Okay.
It has nothing to do with... It's not a storage area. So I have
no reason...
Yeah, it's not a storage area. That's why we never go up there.
Okay, well, good, because I never want to go up there. But I don't like basements.
It's for maintenance, stuff like that.
Again, childhood trauma. I had a cousin who liked to lock me in a basement. And that basement was not exactly a fun basement in the first place. So I still carry that childhood trauma with me. And I'm a grown-ass adult, and I don't like the dark. And that's also part of that trauma. And I don't like basements because it was a dark basement and the light was on the outside. So she'd lock me in and turn off the light, and I couldn't turn the light on because it was outside of the basement.
You were clearly affected by it.
Oh, fuck yeah. So needless to say, it is not my favorite thing.
So in this film, they use that light and darkness to kind of accent when shit's about to go down.
Yes.
So it'll be light and sunny, which is true to form.
Oh, yeah.
When a tornado hits, you're often kind of surprised, and like the weather just turns really quickly. It's not always like cloudy beforehand. We've had it sunny and barely a cloud in the sky, and suddenly there's a tornado there.
What I liked was the green sky. And only because I have seen green skies before, where the clouds come in and there's this weird green hue. Usually those are sea storms that I've experienced, but I can imagine it being a tornado thing.
We got a lot of web lightning. Like now they do show kind of that in the film, like near the start and everything.
Yeah.
Where it's blowing everything up that it touches. For some reason, lightning blows things up. Now, it will blow up like a tree because it's got sap in it. Anything with water in it.
Oh, yeah, it's going to blow up.
Can cause it to
gets superheated,
explode,
yeah.
Yes.
And expands, yeah.
But typically, if it hits something, you don't really know. Unless it catches it on fire, because it's just electricity. It's not a physical force hitting you.
No.
It can do damage, but it doesn't really react that way. But the
web lightning.
The web lightning, I love web lightning, where it spreads out across the sky. I used to sit and take photos of it.
Oh, okay.
And I have no idea where those photos are now. But I used to sit out there for hours taking these photos with a delay on it, so that I could get these nice crisp, like tendrils of lightning.
Yeah.
And, where I would keep the aperture open. And I would get these nice webs of lightning in a photo. I used to love doing it as a kid. So I like seeing that, because in that area, that's what you would get.
Yeah.
Dry air, you get that nice web lightning. Or ball lightning with gases.
Well, what's funny is, again, growing up on the shore, green clouds, and we would also get web lightning sometimes. Certain storms, you'd get that web that would go across the clouds, and usually it was going to hit the ocean or the bay.
Fuck that fish in particular.
But even so, it was like, it was really cool to watch that and growing up, and you could see them so far in the distance. And that's what I always loved, is seeing the storms rolling in from the distance, because we lived on a Goose Creek Bay, which is weird that it's called Goose Creek, but
sounds like a place where you get wine.
I know. And this is in Tom's River, and I remember our positioning in the bay where our house was. You could see the opening of the bay, and you could see parts of the barrier islands, and so we could actually watch from a distance the fireworks during the summer.
Right.
But you could also see the storms rolling in and coming towards the barrier islands. And yeah, that was like a happy point in my childhood. I just remember like sitting and watching, and we had a sun porch. So we would sit on the sun porch and watch it. It was really, really cool. You didn't want to go out on our dock. Our dock was dangerous and evil. But
for the sharks?
No, literally, it jutted, because they never, the landlords never fixed it. So every time it would freeze, it would move up, and it was just a square, and with like a little railing, and it was like sticking almost practically straight up, and we were never allowed to go on it. My mom was always afraid we were going to fall or something. It was dangerous.
So Jo has an obsession with tornadoes, based on her trauma, and so she's always trying to predict. She wants to get the information so that she can predict tornadoes. Maybe that's why she's kind of attached to Bill in the first place, that he can intuit it, so she may feel safer in some way.
That makes sense. No, but that makes a lot of sense. Because you're going to want to be with somebody who makes you feel safe. And if he would make her feel safe, because he would be able to intuit the storms, and in a way, whether she's had a death wish or not, she's going to want to be with him, because he can at least either direct her where she wants to go.
He would give her a feeling of control.
Yeah. And I totally can appreciate that.
And that's kind of what she's doing during this film, is trying to find a way to gain control. Finding out a way to predict is a way to control your destiny, and not not to be at the whim of nature.
Exactly. I appreciate the chaos and I guess the adrenaline that would probably go along with being a storm chaser. I used to think they were just completely nutty people, but as I've gotten older, I can see that would be exciting.
There's less and less reason to do that now.
Oh,
we
totally.
have technology that's sufficient to do a lot of that.
I think I wouldn't want to be a storm chaser to their extent, but I could see, driving through the Midwest and seeing a tornado in the distance and going, ooh, let's see where that goes.
Well, they literally have vehicles that are designed to actually attach to the ground, and they're a shell, basically.
Okay.
And it's really low to the ground. Like it can actually lower pneumatically onto the ground, and attached to the ground with these drivers that go in.
So here's my story, my personal, and I haven't had enough of them, but this is my tornado personal story. It's not my personal story, I never experienced it, but my grandmother. So I think I've mentioned in the past that my grandmother and my great-grandparents were carnival people, and they traveled all over the Northeast and the Southeast, basically up and down the states on this side of the Mississippi. And I don't remember what state this was in. It's been years. My grandmother had passed away a few years ago, so I can't call her up and ask her the information. But I do remember her saying that her and her sister were very young, and they were taking down, I think they were taking down the carnival that they were working at. And the tornado was coming in, and her father put her and her sister, they were about 18 months apart, into either a Packard or one of those old cars that looked like an upside-down bathtub. And he put them in that because he said, or which my Nana said was, it was low enough to the ground, and that's what reminded me of that, is it was low enough to the ground that when the wind hit it, it wasn't going to knock it over. I guess that was their belief. And it had the rubber tire, so if the lightning hit it. But she was in this car through the whole entire storm, and she said what she remembered seeing was it looked like invisible hands picked up the Ferris wheel and just twisted it like a pretzel. And that was an image I always had. And that was part of my fear of tornadoes, was this imagery in my head of invisible hands. And now as an adult, I think of, what is it? The magic hand in D&D.
Oh, Big
B's. Yeah. I pictured Big B's doing it, unfortunately. But as a kid, I could just picture these invisible hands just picking up this round Ferris wheel and twisting it like a pretzel in half. And just that imagery. And I just can't imagine a child seeing that, and having that in her head. That must have been traumatizing for her to have that in her imagery in her head. So yeah, my grandmother lived.
It really solidified your fear of pretzels.
I love eat a pretzel, man. No, pretzels are.
But you're afraid of them.
I'm not afraid of them.
So you eat them despite your fear, which means you're courageous.
But I had to look up the car because I couldn't remember if it was a Packard or not, because she said it looked like an upside down tub, and I know she probably told me what kind of car it was, but
Pretzel?
No, it was either a Packard or an Air Flight. And I don't think Air Flight is right, but it was an odd car. But so maybe it wasn't a Packard. But it was, if you look them up, and I might put a picture on our Instagram, it looks like an upside down tub.
Just random picture of a car?
No, because it has to do with the tornado thingy and the shells that you were talking about. So don't judge me.
Dorothy, the unit that's going to record all this data is the brainchild of both Bill and Joe. And you get the sense that they have developed this over the time that they have been together.
Yeah.
And probably through some of their better moments rather than their worst moments.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because, she's the doctor and really what is, other than being is he a meteorologist? What is his... they never tell you what his background is.
They never really tell you that he's a weatherman, but that doesn't mean he's a meteorologist.
That's true. And he's surrounded by,
It seems to me that he may be like the engineer of the crew.
Maybe that's kind of it. Because, that's a pretty brilliant idea that he came up with. And,
Well, he and Joe both came up with it.
True.
So they're both kind of dedicated to Dorothy, to the unit. And there's several units called Dorothy. There's Dorothy 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or, well, yeah.
Was there 5? Yeah, 4.
I don't know that there's 5 because I only ever saw 4 at the end.
So
4 is the one that actually went off in the truck.
So there's a museum in Wauketa, Oklahoma. It's the Twister Museum, and they have a replica of Dorothy, but there is an actual real Dorothy. It's in an underground museum. It's weird, literally an underground museum where they actually have memorabilia, and they have the original reel of this film in it. It's weird.
For protection?
I don't know.
From twisters?
From tornadoes, yeah. Tornadoes.
So Dorothy is what keeps them together for a long time, I guess, trying to develop it. But I guess they never got to use it, or they hadn't gotten to the testing phase yet because Bill was gone at that point. Mm-hmm. Now, Bill comes back to get her to sign the papers, but she keeps distracting him with the work.
I know.
That he is no longer a part of, but you can see he still loves. Mm-hmm. And the ultimate distraction is her bringing up Dorothy, and he realizes she's got Dorothy there under a tarp. And so I guess she developed the physical part of it after his help in drawing up the schematics or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's never actually seen Dorothy in real life. That gives them that link. It's kind of like having a child. You go back to your ex. Usually in these films, it's the adrenaline. It's like Speed. They don't stay together. Mm-mm. It was obviously the adrenaline that was causing all this.
Yeah.
And for them, it kind of seems like that's the same thing. They get off on this adrenaline high, and doing what they do, but they also have all these traumas. Bill's got anger issues. Joe's got she's got the Batman scenario where she was created by the trauma in her childhood from her father dying. So she's Batman. And she is going to one day find that tornado that killed her father.
Did you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
So that Batman, yes.
The good Batman.
But while they're healing this relationship in this film, I say healing it so much as reestablishing probably an already broken relationship, it is going to be a contentious relationship all the time.
Yes.
There is no real resolution in this. Maybe in the end when Joe encounters an F5, somehow that cures her of having this relentless drive because she doesn't look at the sky and kisses Bill instead. But I think that this is one of those things where, in my really unprofessional opinion, that isn't enough for a relationship. If you build it on contention, I don't think that that's going to keep them together, but that's not really the point of this film.
No.
It's just about reestablishing the connections that were already there. He reunites with his extended family. He reunites with Joe. And he reunites with Dorothy, which is kind of his mission. That's his job, his career path.
Yeah.
And, this is all about, the team. Taking on the other team, but also taking on nature.
Yes.
Really, the other team is just there to provide someone to yell at.
Basically.
In the film, because you can't yell at a tornado. It doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, because the tornado is their foil regardless. Like when everything's going wrong.
Well, not even attacking them. It's also disappearing when they want it to be there.
Yeah, I mean, and then all of a sudden, it's the other team just doot through the mess and doing absolutely nothing. They're not stopping or preventing. They're just driving on through the mess.
And we should say, in the time that they've developed Dorothy, Dr. Jonas Miller, the other team, the butthole, he is the one who also has a kind of Dorothy. It is different in the fact that it's square.
And it's called Dot, which is the nickname for Dorothy.
Right. So the units inside, instead of being spherical, are square.
Yes.
And I guess neither one of those is really going to fly.
And let's bring it back around. My grandmother's nickname, even though her name was not Dorothy, her nickname was Dot.
There you go.
I know. Weird.
You brought it back around.
I know. How weird. So when Bill Paxton passed away, the Spotter Network choreographed 200 storm chasers to spell out BP using GPS radar blips. And I believe he was either the 5th or 6th person that they'd ever done that for. And the other ones were all storm chasers. So he was the first non-storm chaser.
Oh, that's cool. That's a very cool thing for them to do.
Yeah.
I imagine they had to do a lot of background with storm chasers.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So that these actors knew what to do. And I get the sense that they probably hit it pretty close with this extended family. You like in war, you kind of bond over danger.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
And, you kind of form these friendships and everything, and you kind of become extended family in a way that you feel special being part of this unit, being part of this team. And for them, it's about doing something no one else wants to do. Mm-hmm. No one is out there trying to chase storms, or at least they weren't.
No.
I know that in the late 90s, after Twister came out, became super popular and everyone wanted to do it.
Yes.
It's very dangerous. It's also very boring, and you have to actually know science. These aren't things you just get to go and just do.
Oh, yeah.
And so when they are getting their team together again, they leave out Melissa. They don't mean to, but she slowly starts fading out of their attention. And then at that point, and not because she's not getting their attention, but because she knows it's over, she hears over the CB, mm-hmm. which is on because Joe and Bill's truck got sucked up by the tornado and turned upside down while they were underneath that bridge.
Yeah.
The CB got left on, and she's hearing him yell at, or was it that one? Could have been the red truck when they parked.
Yeah, it was later on.
It was during the F5 coming back. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. Sorry.
Because she wasn't able to get Dorothy up. It was the first time they tried to get Dorothy up. And
right.
It was one where they put it in the street, and the tree came and knocked it over.
Right. Very precision thrown tree.
Someone throwing it?
We have like champion lawn darters.
Yeah. And so he was trying to get her to understand that this was not the end of the world, and that she had more than that, because she was like, well, without this, I have nothing. And, and he's trying to explain, you have me, and that. And honestly,
and Melissa hears that.
And if he hadn't said that one part, it would have been okay. Saying that, you have family, you have this, that there's more. I think that she would have been proud of him. But then when he said, but you have me, that's when I could,
Well, that's when Jamie Gertz's face switches off.
Oh, yeah. Because she's
at that point, you see the change right there. She knows it's over at that point.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie that she's in is just about her processing that loss. Mm-hmm. And you can see that. She's kind of divested herself.
Oh, yeah.
At that point of that idea. And she's still just trying to process what that means for her. And again, I think that Melissa was I don't think she was done dirty. I don't think anyone intended anything.
No.
And I think it's written that way, that no one intended anything and no one was mean to her. I just think Melissa was given a raw deal in the fact that circumstance sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
And perhaps the greatest twister was in your heart all along.
No, but I mean, they're even nice to, other than like Bill getting pissed off with Jonas in the beginning when he sees that he has a similar Dorothy when he's got Dot.
A Dorothy variant, yes.
And, him getting pissed about that, which, justifiable, that would piss me off too. They still try to help him out. They try to foil each other and they try to like stop each other because, everybody wants to be the first one. But when shit hits the fan, they are genuinely like, Jonas, please get out of the way, get a turn, and he's like, no, fuck you guys. And they're like, please, with any sensibility that you have, turn, because shit was about to get bad, and it did. And then he blew up like a lawn dart.
Well, yeah, but hold on. First, the nice driver gets Alan Tudyk.
Oh, yeah, he did get... You know, I was going to say that. I was going to say...
He gets washed right in the chest. He gets washed
right in the chest, but I was like, should I do that? Should I go there?
I was going to go there. Because it's the same way. You know, this antenna, or this... It looked like part of an antenna.
Yeah, like a radio tower type of thing, yeah.
Went right through him. I mean...
Damn.
And then... The truck gets picked up.
And then thrown.
With
it was
Jonas
like they were
in it.
Angry.
And then lawn darted him into the ground.
That tornado was pissed.
That tornado knew what he did.
Ooh, what did he do?
He stole a Dorothy variant. He stole the idea.
Well, I mean, he did steal a lot of artwork.
That's true.
Over with, poor Sean Spencer having to hunt him
down.
I
bet he got out of it, though. I bet the lawn darting didn't take him down.
Probably not. He probably faked his death like he always does. So, I mean, he doesn't die. Despero always fakes his deaths. And, he disappears and then he ends up over in Santa Barbara on Psych. Because in our world, in my personal headcanon, all actors' characters intertwine into one character. They just change their names.
Same here. I can always find a link.
Oh.
I can Kevin Bacon it pretty easily.
It's not even... I know. I can Kevin Bacon it hard, but not in a good way. I will jump to some...
I don't know what that means.
No, because I will jump caverns to make it work. There's no easy way.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, I go out of my way to make it work. Yeah. So really cool. The town of Wakita.
I honestly thought it was a fictional town.
It's a real town. So I guess it was an older town, and it just had a downtown that was kind of like blah.
Like
apart.
Every rural town in the Midwest?
Yeah. So the production company bought the old downtown area. They paid about $7,000 to $10,000 per house, and then built an additional 30 more houses that they ended up, that were demolished in the movie. The town used that money to rebuild the downtown area, and they kept the fire truck that they had bought for the production company had bought for the film. So the town got to keep that.
Oh, good.
And then
good.
they opened that museum, the Twister Museum, because now that's their claim to fame is, Wakita. I mean, they mentioned the town.
If we find ourselves that way,
we'll have to check it out. Definitely. I don't have no plans to ever travel through Oklahoma, but I have.
Neither do I. Not at this point in time. Try not to cross borders.
I'm trying to just not travel at all right now. Unless it's a cruise and somebody's paying for it, I'm not going anywhere.
One of the things that they have, that the team continually does is they do these crazy acts. But they also, instead of just storm chasing, they stop. Mm-hmm. During the movie, they go to see Aunt May. Well, I think I was hearing it wrong, and I just remembered it being May for some reason. But yeah, it's Aunt Meg, and that's Louise Smith.
Okay.
They go to her house, and she's like, she accepts the extended family in. Mm-hmm. So that's partway through the movie. This happens. There's no Twister at the time. Mm-hmm. And she's living in that area.
Yeah.
So she's
Wakita,
feeding them, and you see that her and Joe have a moment to talk. It's the one time Joe really opens up to anyone. Mm-hmm. She doesn't open up to people.
No.
She says very little, and when she does say something, it's about the tornadoes.
Yeah.
The Castellini test is going to be pretty easy because she doesn't talk about relationships.
Nope.
She talks about the tornadoes, unless you say that the tornado is a relationship for her.
No, I mean, because even her and Bill's relationship is not really discussed, and while she does talk about it, she's not having that's not the only thing they talk about.
But that's what she's talking about with Aunt Meg.
Yeah,
is she's talking about Bill, but not actually the relationship.
Yeah,
and you can see that she is starting to. She already has feelings for him. She's starting to have hope that maybe this can be different because he is becoming himself again.
Yeah.
Someone that she recognizes. And when she's like getting ready to, when she first gets the divorce papers and he's like, you need to sign it, she switches the ring from one hand, her class ring, to hide the wedding ring she's still wearing.
Yeah.
So that's the way to know that, she still thinks there's hope for the marriage.
Hey, I'm impressed she still has her class ring. I
am too. It's very crazy. So, this close-knit group is there at Aunt Meg's, and they eat, they share a meal together there, and you get the sense that they're very comfortable with each other, and that Meg is kind of like, the mother that they all have.
Yeah.
And, Dusty goes out of his way to, like be like that son or grandson or whatever to Aunt Meg. He really adores her.
Oh, yeah.
So when the twister is coming back and it actually hits their house, that area, and they find out that it hit that area, and they're not, later on in the movie when they're further down the road, they actually stop what they're doing and come back.
Oh, yeah.
Because they care more about Meg than they do about the tornado for once.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good thing. So they come back to get her, to save her, or to find out what happened to her. But the house has been somewhat destroyed, mostly destroyed. It's been mostly destroyed all day.
Yeah.
And so they go racing into the house when they get there, and that's Joe and Bill.
Yeah.
When the extended family come up, Dusty loses his shit and starts trying to get in there as well, but they're already pulling her out. So they all care about each other. And of course, because the background is that I'm not sure that was in Joe's flashback. Was that her mother and her father, or was that her aunt and her father?
I don't know.
Because it makes more sense that it's the aunt. Because the aunt herself, Aunt Meg, her yard and her house is decorated with many, many weather toys, I guess, or weather decorations that move with the wind and stuff like that, or chimes.
I love that tornado one, honestly. I love that.
And she sells them. That's what she does for a living. Yeah. But it's obvious that it has some effect on her. This is not like... Tornado Alley is not a tourist trap. No one goes there to see the tornado themed bar or something like that. It's not like like the Area 51 restaurants and stuff like that. So for her to have those means that she has a real concern. Like she's obsessed as well with early detection. That they're littering her house. It's kind of like, a prepper or something who's gotten conspiracy theories too much in her head. They put booby traps around their house.
Yeah.
This is kind of that. It's reacting from trauma. And it seems like that it makes more sense that that's Aunt Meg and not her mother.
Yeah, that would make more sense. And
doesn't explain where her mother went or what happened.
No, and they really don't explain that at all. And my God, what is it with movies and their just disregard for pet dogs?
Oh, yeah.
If it wasn't for her screaming for the dog wouldn't have come, they would have left the dog behind. And I'm thinking, if that was my dog.
This is in the flashback, yes.
Yeah, and I would have been like, Lula, come on. I would have been like totally trying to get my dog. There would have been no way in hell you would have been able to get me away from my dog,
But in the later part, the older dog, who is obviously the same dog.
Which is impossible, but sure.
No, it's possible. It's entirely possible.
Okay, sure.
There's 50-year-old dogs.
It's been like 35 years,
It's fine. It's the same dog. It's an immortal dog. Gets carried out.
Yeah.
So of the house later on when it gets destroyed. So the dog is okay. Don't worry about the dog. Dog's going to be just fine. He owns a Corvette.
He's rich.
So they finally deploy Dorothy.
Yes.
And the reason they do this is because they did come back to get Meg. And when they were there,
they realized that...
Well, Joe recognizes the weather vanes slowly revolving near her house. And she's like, wait a minute. Because when they deployed it the first time, the balls did not get sucked up into the air because there just wasn't enough surface area, I guess, or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There wasn't enough lift anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless. There wasn't enough lift
light.
the unit was too light. That's why it got knocked over. But the balls themselves did not lift off because there was no lift.
True.
You can't just suck it up like a vacuum. There has to be some kind of lift to it. So she sees the weather vanes slowly going around, and she has this idea to get tin cans, cut them up, and to make the basically fins of a fan.
Yeah.
To kind of act as a helicopter in a way.
Yeah.
Gives something for the wind to pull at. And they attach those to the balls, which as a kid I thought was ingenious. I still think it's okay, but they would have needed something with a heavier gauge than a tin can. Not tin can, aluminum can.
Yeah.
But
hey,
that's fine. I'm not trying to dissect anything, and I don't know for sure. I'm just saying intuitively it seems like that may be too thin. But they come up with the idea to do this, and this is after Dr. Jonas has been murdered by lawn darting.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's after the fact. They finally get Dorothy to release the hounds. So all the little balls go up in the air. Should have called those Totos.
I know.
And they finally get their data. And when they get their data,
the hurricane goes, fuck you!
The hurricane goes ballistic and comes...
Tornado. Sorry. The tornado goes, fuck you!
The twister comes back at them and says, fuck you, give me back my stuff. I don't know.
It's like, what did you put in me? What did you put in me?
I think it dropped its wallet.
It was roofied. It did not like it.
It's rude to roofie someone. And so it comes back, and it's tearing up everything, but they have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get away. They get in the car, but
they can't get into the truck because they use the truck to get Dorothy into the tornado.
Yeah, they got rid of the truck. The truck is gone.
Truck, they put it in cruise control and let it go in the middle of a cornfield.
So they've got to run, and they're running towards a farm.
Yes, with the murder barn.
With the murder barn. And if you don't know what a murder barn is, you go inside the barn.
And there's everything sharp.
Yes, just all blades and spikes and everything else.
It's like, who the fuck lives here? What Texas Chainsaw Massacre motherfucking shit that I just walk into?
Which is what she says, kind of.
Yeah, she says, who are these people?
Who are these people? But she walked into their tool shed, basically, and that is not where you want to be in a tornado. A twister of any kind, really.
Yes.
And so they're just trying to get away. And that's when they bind themselves to a pipe that does not, because it's a nice pipe, beat them to death.
They would have been beaten to death by that pipe with themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So Aunt May is the key to their kind of... is like Dorothy, Aunt May, or Aunt Meg. I keep saying Aunt May. Aunt Meg is the key to their togetherness in a way.
I guess so,
like Dorothy is.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that they both agree on.
Oh, yes.
Without argument.
Aunt Meg and to get Dorothy up into the tornado.
And then, I wanted to mention the one thing with the, when the tornado disappears in the middle of them trying to take care of everything, before the final tornado appearance where they finally get the lift off and everything, the Doppler radar is showing the tornado disappearing because it is disappearing.
Yeah.
And one of the team members is like tapping on the keyboard trying to get the tornado to activate more.
I guess so.
I don't know. It's one of those things where you're pressing a button for no absolute reason, only because you have no other control, and that is a control point that you feel you have, is tapping a button.
I mean, I guess I could get it. Like, if you're, like, working on something and all of a sudden it freezes and you're like, what the fuck? And, I know.
So you tap on it, and I just thought it was funny they included
Where is the tornado? Bring it back! Tap, tap, tap.
So, at the end they kiss. They don't want to look at the sky because they care about each other more now. Mm-hmm. Everything's cured. No one's upset anymore. Bill is obviously going to quit being a weatherman before he gets the job. He's going to have to pay for that truck that he just bought.
That he only got liability on. How? I don't know.
Only liability because it was the 90s. Apparently he could get away with it. And I don't know. And that's the end of the movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty much it.
There's a big swath in the ground of where the tornado had left its mark, and it was actually quite impressive. But they were like, this thing is a mile wide round, and like 2 or 3 people say it at different times, and it was big, yes. I mean, it did have a big old tanker truck inside of it.
And then I can see clearly now plays as they drive off in a convertible. No, that's Grosse Pointe Blank.
No, it's... Love is in the air, and they dance, and everybody goes into the middle of the. Oh no, that's strictly ballroom.
So the team shows up while they're kissing.
Yes,
they're all like,
oh, look at them, yay! Mom and Dad are back together.
Basically, that's what they do, and that's where it ends. And I have to tell you, I still enjoyed the film.
Oh, I did too. I did, and I reluctantly enjoyed it when I was younger, and watching it again, it was enjoyable.
It wasn't so dated that I didn't want to watch it.
Also, it didn't have again, my fears being what they are, when I remember the scene when they're like, what is that? What is that? Because it's the tanker truck coming out of that did freak me out. And then there were a few times I remember when I watched it when I was younger, I did have not so much jump scares, but just jumps, like when her truck falls. And I don't know, and I had actually forgotten about a lot of those scenes, but I didn't have the same reaction because I didn't have the same. I don't know if it's the same fear, because the fear is still there. I wouldn't want to be for any of that to be real.
Yeah,
there may be just knowing it's a movie, and I'm not the same person as I was in my early 20s.
That could be true as well.
Because I was, 22 when this movie came out? I was afraid of everything. So, I don't know. I enjoyed it, and it didn't freak me out in any way, shape, or form. And again, I have a wait till we start getting into some of the movies that do push my boundaries of what I like. This is not one of them. And so, I really was impressed by how it held true, but yet also kept me in my fond memories. I didn't have any bad memories.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't destroy the nostalgia. Yeah. Actually, I think it reinforced it, and it made me like, oh wow, I miss Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
And
Philip Seymour Thomas.
Hopkins.
Philip Seymour Hopkins.
Yes. You said Thomas. I was freaking out.
I don't know where that comes from. Oh, because you said C. Thomas Howell before. Earlier.
I know, because I kept mixing people up.
Hey, I keep saying hurricane instead of tornado.
But I didn't say it on air. You said it on air. I know. So yours counts. Mine does not.
Uh-huh. Well, I wonder if this is going to...
Pass the Castellini?
Yeah, but I also wonder if it's going to sit on the same level of hierarchy as Tremors. No. No. At this point,
I don't think it's fair to compare the two because... No, I mean, I guess they are kind of the same in a way.
In a way, but I think because Tremors is... you expect Twister to be good. You don't expect Tremors.
Expect Twister.
And so Tremors being good and being what it is and exceeding our expectations kind of...
I think there were a lot of reasons why Tremors was a hit for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was an amalgamation of not just inclusivity of races
mm-hmm.
and great acting, along with some really well-written and well-intentioned scenes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Twister does not have as diverse of a
No,
cast.
it is exceptionally white.
It's very Aryan. And I'm sorry, not to digress completely into the movie again, but in the middle of a tornado, getting hit in the head with a hubcap would have taken off the top of that man's head. Instead, it left a line on his head.
I think it would have been a lot worse.
So they actually cut a lot of the scenes out, the cursing and a lot of the bloody scenes to keep it at a PG-13 rating, which I'm not sure why they wanted it that way so bad. So they ended up having to cut a lot of Phillip Seymour Hopkins and Carrie Elwes's scenes because they were a bit more on the racy.
Well, I can see why they wanted to do it because they wanted that. It was a summer movie, I think.
Family friendly.
Well, not family friendly so much as you want a bunch of teens to come see it.
True.
It was It was an action film, basically.
Yeah, like I said, it's a natural disaster film.
Which is always exciting for kids.
Ew. Not me.
So, the Castellini test. Let's see if it fares well in this. There have to be at least 2 named women characters with at least 5 lines of dialogue each.
Okay, well, we've got Dr. Joe, and we've got Dr. Melissa, and we have Aunt Meg.
It's true. They all have extensive dialogue for the most part. Even Meg has quite a bit.
There's that one assistant. Unfortunately, I did not write her name down, and I'm really bad about it. The one who was in the truck when they were singing.
She did not have 5 lines.
No, but she has a name. I just don't remember what her name is.
So we have that. That passes. Those characters must have a conversation, not necessarily with the other woman, either not about their partner or with their partner, future or current, and not about their relationship.
Well, since the main character is female and all she does is talk to everybody about tornadoes, tornado chasing, and Dorothy, and very little about her relationship unless she's talking about not signing those papers, that's pretty much, that passes that one.
Also, Joe and Meg, they both talk about Joe's childhood trauma from the tornado, not about her relationship with Bill.
Exactly.
Then we have, the storm chasing mission, they talk about that. And they talk about the Dorothy device and what it means and stuff. So I think that passes because you got both of them talking about different things that are not about Bill.
Yeah. I mean, and while Melissa does talk about their relationship, I feel like her talking about her relationship isn't because she's pining or because
I don't think it's really about the intention so much as they are.
Yeah, that's true too. So, I mean, I guess when we talk about the Castellini test,
centering them.
Well, I think about when they say about talking about relationships when it comes to the Castellini test. I think of the way women are portrayed in movies. And if you're talking about your relationship, you're either pining, jealous, you are scheming, they always have like...
But either way, no matter what that emotion attached to it, is still centering them instead of...
Where I feel like Dr. Melissa is very... healthy about her discussions. She wants the paperwork signed so we can get married. And it's not talking about the
is about the relationship, which is why she wouldn't help pass that in that case.
I know.
But she's still very adult about it, but that doesn't change the fact that is still part of the conversation. But she also
talks to Dusty about the tornadoes. He's explaining tornadoes with her, so they have a conversation. She asks questions about Dorothy and how it gets up into... So she does have a whole conversation that's not relationship-based and that has more than 5 lines.
Not to each other, but yes.
Yeah, to the group, really, yeah.
At least one of the women has to be integral to the plot, meaning that if she were written out of the film, it couldn't reach the same ending.
I honestly think that all 3 would be... If Aunt Meg wasn't there, they wouldn't have had a reason to go back to the house, and she wouldn't have thought to put the little propellers.
She wouldn't have had the catharsis.
Exactly.
Because it wouldn't have gotten ever to the point where she lived through the F5.
Yeah.
Which I guess was her cathartic ending,
And if we didn't have Melissa, then Bill would not have had a reason to come back, and there would have been no reason for that.
Maybe. I think mostly, though, it's Joe, because without Joe, you wouldn't have a film.
Oh, exactly. I was working my way backwards. I was going to get
to
yeah.
I was just trying to cut to the chase and say Joe.
And then Joe. And if we didn't have Joe, then what would be the fucking point of the movie? Because then there would be no reason for it at all.
Right.
Because she's the main portion.
Passes the Castellini test.
Yes.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Nice. So if you would like to watch this movie... You could.
Even if you don't want to watch this movie.
You're going to know.
You're going to watch it. No.
No. I suggest it. Guys, watch this movie if you've never seen this one. And if you've seen... now, we haven't seen...
There's the new one called Twisters, as in plural. We're talking about Twister.
1996.
The singular.
Yes. Make sure you're watching the 96 version, not the 24 version. And again, we haven't seen the new one, or at least
I have no opinion on the new one.
I don't have an opinion of the new one.
Yes. It may be great. Who
though,
knows?
apparently our daughter saw it and she thought it was amazing. So, there's that. She's not the best in taste of movies. I love her, but no. So
take it with a grain of salt.
Yes. Maybe we'll watch it just so we can say, hey, y'all. Meh.
We can do a comparative.
We could.
Really tear everything apart.
Oh, hey, we tear apart everything we love. So if you would like to watch Twister, 1996, with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, you can watch it on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, and Fandango at home. And they are between $3.79 and $3.99 each.
Or you could literally go to Helen Hunt for it. I've been waiting to make that joke this entire time.
Wait. Is the joke in the room with us?
Not now. It's already gone by. It's already happened and moved on. You're just being mean.
Because I'm always mean to the things I love.
So we hope that you enjoyed this revisit to Twister and that it resonated with you on some emotional level. Perhaps you have trauma in which you're still trying to doggedly release a Dorothy at.
Still won't go in the basement alone.
Let's try to carry these feelings forward. Try to aim for kindness. That's always a good thing to aim for.
Yes.
Remember that people are human beings and treat them like they're human beings, like you would like to be treated as well.
And tornadoes are not human beings.
They are not anthropomorphized.
No.
Unless you do it. And then they are. And then you can treat them any way you like, but do it from a distance.
They're not really trying to kill you particularly.
This has been Once More with Feelings with Beth and Michelle. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at OMWFPod. Visit our page at oncemorewithfeelings.podbean.com or send us an email at omwfpod@gmail.com. Take a moment to subscribe and rate us on iTunes, YouTube, all the other things, all the other I's and U's. Oh, we also have a new podcast.
Yes, coming up.
I was not going to say anything. For some reason, I was just going to let the moment go by.
Oh.
I would have had to splice it in. It would have been terrible.
Oh.
The sound would have been different.
Definitely.
You would have heard a cat in the background
you're
screeching.
You're probably hearing the cat anyway right now in his grossness.
So we have a new podcast called Have You Seen That Show? ?
Yes. Because have you seen that show?
Have you?
I mean, we are going to sit and discuss TV shows that we think are interesting, fun, funny, not funny, scary, spooky, whatever. And just basically talk about it. Not
ones that we love.
Yeah,
TV shows we really enjoy.
And sometimes it's going to be ones that people have seen, and sometimes it's going to be ones people haven't seen. But, inevitably, we've all heard that line. Have you seen that show?
Right. So you can find that wherever you find podcasts, on the iTunes, on the YouTubes of the world.
It's in Peapod Productions.
Right. It's going to be out. When are we going to release it?
I think
we're deciding this right now.
Yeah, we're still working on the details of it.
We're going to record it this weekend.
Yeah, so probably in the next week or so. Because we still have to find music, and we're still working on that.
Okay, so we'll release it next weekend.
Okay.
Ooh, we'll release it.
We'll come up with that. We don't want to give you guys a specific if we can't keep it.
We can release it Sunday morning. And we can release, because we release these on Monday morning.
Okay. I don't care.
See, you're hearing a full-on real conversation between people trying to decide when to release a podcast.
Oh, my gosh.
So we're going to record it this weekend, but it will be out next weekend on Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
And should we tell them what show we're starting with this time?
Yes, the series is going to be one that I love, that I've seen many times.
Same.
And Michelle has seen it many times, because I was a supervisor at Best Buy. I understand what the writers were going for, what the creator was going for, and it was done very well.
I have never worked in retail, so I am lost now.
So we'll discuss all that, but this is not going to be like Once More with Feelings. We're not really there to discuss our feelings about it.
No.
What we are going to do is go through the episodes. We're going to do them 2 episodes at a time. We're going to go through the entire series to the end.
Mm-hmm.
per season for each TV series.
Each series is going to be a season.
So we're starting with Superstore.
Superstore. Honestly,
a Justin Spitzer creation.
And if you've never seen it, we highly recommend it. So tune into Have You Seen That Show? And you'll maybe want to watch it for yourself.
Or if you've seen it, join us and listen in for the rewatch. Because we're going to watch it again. I just watched it.
Finished watching it.
I just watched it. I
We're going to start all over again.
It was only a week ago. But I love the series.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy the humanity of it.
Yes.
There's a lot of real humanity there.
And some really great characters and great actors and some fucked up plots and storylines. And
if you want to hear about all that, join us.
Because it's really funny.
On that podcast. We would love to have you there. It is going to be wherever you can find it, but it's also at seenthatshow.podbean.com.
And it is also, you can find the Instagram, which I'm still building, at Have You Seen That Show? All underscores in between.
I do have the Blue Skies set up, but I don't remember what it says. We will do that on
We
the
will be more
thing.
professional later, but, we haven't been so far.
I mean, this is professional. We haven't set that. I mean, I've set it up. I just haven't prepared it yet.
And we hope to someday have a Patreon, and we've been doing some behind the scenes conversations that we would love to share with you all. A lot of my crazy exhausted rants about the education system, and
cat purrs and how they can really annoy you.
Because I've got my
because he's so purry.
He's the podcast kitty, and he has to sit in my lap in every episode.
Too purry.
He's so purry, and he's also trying to play. He's always playing with my notebook, so most of the noises you hear are him hitting the notebook with his head.
Okay, so please join us at the other podcast as well. We're doing both. Once More with Feelings will still stay on Monday releases, Monday at 6 a.m. And Have You Seen That Show? Will be on Sunday at 6 a.m.
Okay, cool. See y'all then.
Bye.
Bye.
Cow. I gotta go, Julia. We got cows. Another cow.
Actually, I think that was the same one.